Okay, hello. Hello, thank you so much for joining me. This is my first live. I am really excited to be here. And also, if I am very honest, I'm slightly agitated because I managed to send the wrong link and had to at the very last minute send an email out to all our email subscribers to let you know that I sent a wrong link. So first of all, I want to apologize for that. If you ended up here, I'm really happy. I'm gonna have the chat with me in a second. I've got Rosa helping me, so she will be also monitoring the chat and saying hello. If you want to say hello on the chat, I know there were some people waiting. I can't really see who's there right now. I'm going to be able to see it in a second and say hello to you directly. I hope you can hear me well. Let me know in the chat if you have any problems with sound. And I think what I need to first of all do is just settle into breath, because it's been a bit of a mad rush this last hour to get you sent the right link. I wanted to do this live to talk about resilience and to talk about the relationship between resilience and breath. I am going to chat for a little bit. I invite you to use the chat to come and engage with me in conversation. If there's anything that you feel that has resonated with you in terms of the title that I have given to this video, if you feel that for you there is a big relationship between breath and resilience, then go ahead and write any comments, anything that you feel that you would really like to share or to ask. I'm gonna get Rosa to pass me my computer so that I can see who is there, because I can't really see right now. If you are there, if you can say hello, and if you can also let me know where you are watching this from. As you might know, or might not know, my name is Ana. I'm Ana Barretxeguren. I am a movement educator. I am originally a Pilates teacher. I've developed my own method called moving fascia. And my whole work has been centered around breath for a very long time. Some of you might know. Let's see who's there. Oh, Tacy, hello. Oh, lovely to see you here. Karen, Jane, thank you for being here. Tove, hello. Hello, KH. Hello, Katie. Hello, Karen from Christchurch in Bournemouth. Lovely to have you here. So, yeah, like I was saying, my work has been really centered around breath. Obviously, I'm a movement teacher, and breath and movement are completely woven together. But at a very personal level, I have a real story around a relationship with breath, a very intimate relationship with breath. I believe you have a very intimate relationship with breath too. And I feel that breath has really helped me and helps me in finding resilience in moments of difficulty or discomfort, in moments of hardship. I have a condition named catamenial pneumothorax, by which my lung has collapsed repetitively over the last 11 years, numerous times, too many that I can count. And the last one, not that long ago, I had a small one in September, and back in June, straight after the solstice, the summer solstice, I had a pretty big one that sent me to hospital. I'm sharing this because this continuous, repetitive, collapse after collapse after collapse. It continues to be and has been an experience of a challenge and also a blessing. I feel that every time that I get another pneumothorax, I get another lung collapse, I have another opportunity, it's another given opportunity to notice and sense and pay attention to the fact that I am breathing. I don't always experience this as such. There are times where I go into other ways of reaction more than response, in which I contract against what is happening in my inner environment, and I start to find reasons in my outer environment or in my choices. And it's only when I come back to breath, it's only when I come back to sensing the breath that is at that moment, even when it's hard to take a breath, the breath that exists, that I can find health, that I can find that is the health that is, and that is always there, and that from there health grows. And I am absolutely committed to this. I am absolutely committed to putting the glasses in which I am looking at health as opposed to looking at disease. I am looking at the health that exists right now, the breath that exists right now. My breath is right now quite compromised due to the technology and the sort of rush of the last minute, and the fact that this is my first YouTube live. And I noticed that in order for me to manage that dysregulation, I settle into finding the pauses between the breaths. And this is a strategy in order to find calmness and to come back to a more regulated state. Breath is a portal. Breath is a portal between the volitional control and the autonomic control, the unconscious and the conscious. I can bring consciousness to my breath, and through bringing attention and consciousness to my breath, I can begin to affect the unconscious, the autonomic, the nervous system regulation that is necessary for my autonomic function, so the function of my organs, the function of my health, also my emotion, because my autonomic nervous system is absolutely intertwined in the fabric of my emotion. So I wanted to do this YouTube live to talk about breath and resilience. I know I'm very resilient. I am a very resilient person, not in every situation, of course, but in the situations that I have been given in life, I usually manage to overcome and move on the next step. And I'm not saying this to show off in any way, but I want to share with you that I often get told, "Oh, you are so strong." And that, I have to say, can really trigger me when someone says, "Oh, you are so strong." I'll continue in a second. Can I just go to the chat for a moment and see what? Oh, Rob is here as well. Oh, thank you. Karen is saying that is the perfect attitude. Thank you very much. Charlotte from Copenhagen, thank you for being here. Maybe you can share if you, Anna in Bristol, lovely to see you. Anna. Oh, Anna, so good to see you. Well, I'm not seeing you, but so good to know that you're here. Thank you for commenting. Can I get you to also, if you want to share, if you feel that you are able to tap into resilience or what your sense of resilience is? And I would like to sort of make this distinction between, or this connection between resilience and strength. And before I just broke off to talking about this and checking on the chat, I said to you that when someone says to me, "You're really strong," that can sometimes trigger me. So strength in our society, the society that we live, is very conditioned. Our concept, our sense of what strength is can be very conditioned. And when I get triggered, it's because I come from looking at strength from that conditioned place in which, I relate strength to stiffness or rigidity. I relate strength to never letting go, never giving up, and continuing going forwards. And this, by all means, of course, is not strength. Strength is in the resilience. And the resilience is in the pulse of finding both the contraction and the expansion, and not focusing on only one. Breath can be an incredible tool for resilience because it brings us to the present moment, because when we pay attention to the breath that is, which is the constant that is always continuous in our life. Breath is my constant. Breath is your constant. My breath will not forever exist, but it will always be there while I am here in this body. If I can pay attention to that, to my constant being, I can then sit in both the expansion and the contraction and the pause in between. And when I go into this place of non-duality, in which the polarity of both is the health, I become more resilient because I am able to listen. I am able to respond as opposed to react to the environment. So not only I feel that breath is a tool for resilience, and that when we are in moments of hardship, it would be through paying attention to breath that we can come back to noticing if we are pulsing or if we are contracting. There is no strength in rigidity, or if we are collapsing, and there is no strength in absolute expansion. But the strength lies in the pulsing between the two, in the necessity to be in both and be in the pause in between. How are we doing on the sound is good for me? Charlotte is saying, there is evidence in my life of resilience, and that inspires me to keep focusing on the possibility of healing. Thank you so much, Darren. I think there's people saying that there is an echo. Some people are saying that it sounds okay for them. We're going to continue. Please do let me know if you can't hear so well. I'm just going to get a little prop. Right, so this toy that we all know so well is a fantastic tool to to see that sense of expansion that happens in all directions. So the talk today, or this YouTube live talk, I don't know, is based on resilience, breath, and the diaphragm. I included the diaphragm there as the sort of central muscle of respiration. But truly, the whole body breathes. And we can pay attention to the whole body traveling into an expansion in an in-breath and traveling into a contraction in an out-breath. From the inside out, expanding in an in-breath. From the outside in, contracting in an out-breath. From the outside in, bringing the outside in an in-breath. And connecting the inside out in an out-breath. I'll say that again because I got confused. Bringing the outside in an in-breath. And relating the inside out in an out-breath. So this constant pulse is a constant relationship between the inside and the outside. And when I bring my attention to the breath, I am not only paying attention to what happens within me, but also how I relate to the environment. How the environment may affect my introspective or interoceptive perception, and how my inner environment can also affect the outer environment. So as you see in this movement, maybe you have started to notice that your breath has started to sink in or resonate with the expansion and the contraction of the model. And you might be sensing how your whole body can be invited to travel into a similar pulsing of breath. Of course, there are many techniques. We could play with counting, we could play with finding the pauses and looking at the apnea. We could play with so many techniques. But beyond techniques and beyond specific breathing muscles of respiration and accessory muscles of respiration, beyond all of it, it is in the attention to, is my body contracting or is my body expanding? Or is my body finding the pause in between? That perhaps can bring us towards a state of regulation, self-regulation, where there is a balance, and that if I'm really upregulated, because I'm starting my first YouTube live, I can start to let my breath bring me to a place where there's a little bit more down regulation and I can find my balance. And the opposite happens too. Perhaps sometimes doing a little bit of faster, more rhythmic breathing can bring us to a state of energy, an energizing, uplifting, necessary state of up regulation when we feel really low and down regulated. Right, I have my friend over here, and he definitely doesn't breathe. I wanted to bring this. It is crocheted model of a diaphragm. I actually knitted this. You can see how the diaphragm has complete connections all the way down into the lumbar vertebra. This really is a very, very simplistic model of the diaphragm. And I believe that that sense of pulsing that we were working with a second ago with the other more dynamic model might be something that's much easier to resonate with your breath and bring into embodying. But I want to do a little bit of an experience of noticing the limits of the diaphragm, finding landmarks that can be quite useful to pay attention to our breath and to find a little bit more of a sort of fullness and openness to the breath. And before I do that, I thought it would be useful to just look at a more kind of representation of the diaphragm. So what we have here is a crocheted diaphragm, as I was saying. When I crocheted these, used white to depict the more collagenous part of the diaphragm, so the part of the connective tissue that is more fibrous, that has more fibers, and that, in the case of the diaphragm, comes into the tendon of the diaphragm, the central tendon of the diaphragm, which you can probably see from under there. I put a little light inside to kind of represent the heart, because the central tendon of the diaphragm is absolutely continuous with the pericardium, of the heart, which is that sac of connective tissue, that visceral connective tissue, visceral fascia that envelopes the heart and gives it its little house where it can continue to pump and have fluidity to move, but is contained and related to the breathing diaphragm. So the heart really is like an octopus sitting on a rock, the rock being the diaphragm. You can see the heart is right in there in the thorax, embedded into that white fibrous connective tissue of the pericardium. And then we have some fibers traveling down to relate the diaphragm to the costal arch. The costal arch being that line of the costal cartilage that travels from the very, very end of the dagger of the breastbone, the xiphoid process of the sternum, and then down into finding the lower ribs. So this is what I want to find with you in the body in a moment. So the diaphragm connects all the way along that whole lower rim of the thorax, the whole lower rim of the basket of the ribs. And it travels three-dimensionally, of course, back wall of the abdomen. Fibers of the central tendon are connecting into the crura um, of the diaphragm, which relate the diaphragm to the lumbar vertebra. So the diaphragm is anchored onto the periosteum of those bodies of the lumbar vertebra, as well as the discs. And it is absolutely continuous as well, with some deep musculature of the abdomen, those deep hip flexors. The soul has to be completely cut and separated from the diaphragm in order for us to make it into a different structure. There are some tendinous arcs at the back of the um, of the wall of the abdomen, where the diaphragm creates these arches to relate to the psoas muscle, a deep hip flexor that lives right at the very back of the whole of the visceral contents of the abdomen, and quadratus lumborum. Quadratus lumborum being quite a famous muscle for these people that are interested in lower back. The diaphragm has got many functions, not just breathing functions, but it is our main primary um, structure of respiration, and it's a relator. It relates, it communicates the thorax with the abdomen, the upper body with the lower body. The diaphragm is the beginning of the legs. It's the beginning of the legs. The psoas traveling right from that point of the diaphragm. I could talk about the diaphragm forever. My injury is in the diaphragmatic pleura, and I could talk about the diaphragm for absolutely ever. But the point of this life is that I wanted to talk about resilience, and I wanted to talk about pain, bringing our awareness, bringing our attention to the breath. So let's do that. Before we do that, just one last little look um, at the chat. Karen is saying, I find resilience is like a movement, adaptation to situations and feelings like the moving of a tree in different weathers, having the ability to be flexible and remain stable. Thank you, Karen. Absolutely beautiful what you wrote there. Um, this tree moving through the storms, through the breeze, through the calm weather, um, reminds me very much of me breathing through the world, you breathing through the world and the experiences that the environment throws at us, and being able to tap into the breath, into that fine tuning of understanding how much is too much, how much is too little. Right, let's find those limits of the diaphragm. So you might want to do this with me. If you are seated, find that you're seated comfortably, that if your feet are on the ground, they really are on the ground, they're going to be somewhere where you can feel that you can push through them, almost as if you were to stand up. You feel that you are sitting on your sitting bones, and that your spine is finding certain level of length. Find comfort in the way that you're sitting. Going back to that tree that Karen was writing about, yeah, yeah, spine is 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 growing in a fluid manner. We are not looking for straightness in any way. And then let's come and bring our fingers here to mirror what we just went through on the plastic model, and notice the difference between the plastic model and the aliveness that exists under your fingers. And touch with kindness. And we're going to find the ciphered process, that very, very bottom part of the dagger. I don't dig too much. Sometimes it can be quite, but bring your fingers directly below the costal arch, directly below that arc that we could really bring our attention to and talk in many other different ways. And dive your fingers slightly underneath it. I want you to go with softness. You're not intending to poke in any way. You're using your fingers in a really flat manner. It is quite a good idea to just use the little finger, bring the little finger in towards your abdomen, mirroring this type of action. You do not want to poke into your abdomen. And notice the tenderness, if there is any. Notice the softness and the rigidity. Of course, if you're standing, there will be more rigidity there than if you're sitting. If you are talking like I am, you will feel that that happens even more. Notice if there is any more tenderness on one side than the other. How you're finding that you can dive your fingers, maybe even not only underneath that costal arch, but perhaps even able to almost get under and around to experience, notice that limit of the very edge of the rim of the diaphragm. It's as if you were getting underneath the skirt, underneath the skirt. So your fingers are going down through the sides of your costal arch, and there's a point at which, as you're coming down, and if I do it only on one side, you dive deep into the waist. As you're diving deep into the waist, again, intend to find a soft abdomen, easy breathing. Maybe bring your thumbs back to notice how far down do the lower ribs travel into your body. Notice that your ribs get very close to the very top crest of the pelvis, and that you have diaphragm connecting just directly in front of your fingers there, that low. So that might have given you a sense of how, if you had the front of the skirt of the diaphragm, we were up here, and at the back of the skirt of the diaphragm, we are down here. The diaphragm, therefore, is not a flat or a horizontal dome, but is slightly lifted or tilted. Let's also say that actually the diaphragm is more like two domes, one over the right side and one over the left side, one slightly bigger than the other due to the liver being on the right side and the heart being slightly more to the left. With your fingers back here, right into the softness of your lower back, because the tissue of your lower back is slightly harder. You're gonna come onto the sides of your erector spinae. You're gonna come onto the sides of that long muscle that runs along both sides of your spinous processes, those little bumpy bits on your spine. You've got very strong, long musculature. So just come to the sides of that, and notice how perhaps in there is a little bit softer with the thumbs. And then diving those thumbs into that lumbar spine with kindness. Of course, if it's painful, responding to what you need. Then let's stay here, sitting with some breath. I'm not asking you to change anything in the breathing. In fact, can you find calmness and softness and breathe all the way back to your thumb. Every time you breathe in, feeling that your breath travels down through the back of the throat and heart to dive to meet the softness of the tissue directly in front of your thumb. And every time you exhale, perhaps finding even more softness, more quietness. I ask you to find a calmness in your breath and to lengthen, if possible, the exhalation, which will soon be mirrored by the inhalation. If there's any intention in your breath, if there is any intention in your breath, it will be in the out breath, in the length of the out breath. But we're not forcing. Every time we inhale, we are being breathed. We let go to being, and air rushes in. Every time we exhale, you might feel how the dome of the diaphragm comes to connect a little bit more towards center, not contract, but soften a little bit more towards center. Stay there with that. Carry on breathing. And as you are there breathing and back, bring your attention to your heart. Your thumbs are still here in that same spot. And visualize for a few cycles of breath how these dancing skirts of the diaphragm in this soft manner, visualizing Marilyn Monroe's skirt lifting and then softening down, is a massage for your heart. Every time you breathe in, the heart gets a little squeeze as the central tendon lowers. The casing of the pericardium is being pulled and narrowed, and the heart gets a squeeze. Every time we exhale, the heart has a little bit more room to rest. The central tendon of the diaphragm goes down in an in-breath. The heart gets the squeeze. Pericardium lengthens and narrows. As we breathe out, the heart receives a little bit more space, more sense of softness with the lift of the central tendon. Some of these will be resonating with you, some of these will be more sticking attention to what comes up for you as opposed to any of the anatomy I'm sharing with you. And then slowly let that come to resting. Karen, you're saying thank you. Saying that is beautiful. That the heart has a massage during breath. Thank you for saying. Thank you for your comment. Um, Great. I would love to continue with you, but I am very aware that I've been going on now for 40 minutes, and that I'm not sure how long YouTube lives are meant to be. I'm gonna ask you to pay attention to how it is that you feel now with that little gentle, very short practice of embodying relationships in your breath. I will be sharing a lot more of these in the Breathing as One course, which starts next Thursday, the 21st of December, the darkest day of the year, the solstice, the winter solstice. We will begin a journey of self-exploration, the breath center program, in which we bring focus to a different aspect of breath each month, and there's a guided weekly theme, a weekly um, intensive. All the videos are there on the platform for people to replay and watch at any point, and we have a private community within the platform where we can interact. I would love if you can join me on this journey. It's a 6 months course. It's not even a course, it's a program. It's a 6 months program. If you have any questions, you can put them on the chat, but you can also send us an email. Either me or Rosa will pick it up. Our email address is info@movingfascia.com. Um, Yeah, and even if you're not joining me, I hope to be doing some more of these at some point, some more lives. I have really enjoyed it. I'm really grateful that you guys turned up. I didn't really know how this was gonna turn up. So to everyone that was here commenting so supportively in the chat. I really, really appreciate it, and I am really grateful. You made me feel so much more at peace. And yeah, thank you for being there. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you get notified about any um, other lives that we're doing. Yeah, and hit the like button as well. That will really help. And yeah, as I say, info@movingfascia.com if you have any questions about what we've just done, you want to communicate a bit more, or just put more comments on the video. I have really enjoyed being here with you. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I think we're going to finish. Steph, you were there. Oh my God, Steph. Wow, thank you for being there. I'm going to see Seth tomorrow. We're going to have dinner together. Thank you for commenting, Seth. It's fantastic. I'm gonna say goodbye now. Thank you very much for being here, guys. I will do another one at some point. I've really enjoyed it. I don't even want to finish it. Thank you so much. Mwah.